Martin Shkreli. You've definitely heard the name. Pharma Bro. He was once called the most hated man in America. But what if I told you that the crime that made him infamous wasn't actually the crime that sent him to prison? Let's get into the real story behind all those headlines. So this is how Martin Shkreli saw himself, a modern-day Robin Hood. And this wasn't just some off-the-cuff remark. He genuinely used this as a defense for an action that was about to cause a massive international firestorm. And that's the big question, right? How do you go from seeing yourself as some kind of hero to becoming public enemy number one? We're talking a federal conviction, a lifetime ban from your own industry. It's a wild ride, so let's unpack it. Okay, before we dive into the chaos, we have to understand the guy at the center of it all. Who exactly is Martin Shkreli? Well, he started out on Wall Street, a pretty sharp hedge fund manager who got a start when he was just a teenager. He was super ambitious, and get this, in 2012, Forbes even put him on their 30 under 30 list for finance. Eventually, he made a big pivot and founded his own pharma companies, including one called Pharmaceuticals. And he brought those same aggressive Wall Street tactics with him.
And this is the moment. The story just absolutely explodes into the public consciousness. In 2015, Shkreli made one business decision that would define his image forever.
The drug was called Daraprim. And we're not talking about some new fancy medication here. This thing had been on the market since 1953. It's actually on the World Health Organization's list of essential medicines. It's used to treat a parasitic infection, and it's often critical for patients with compromised immune systems, like people with AIDS or cancer. For 62 years, this was pretty much the price. $13.50 a pill. It was affordable, it was effective, and it was saving lives. And then, literally overnight, this became the new price, $750 for the exact same pill. Just to put that into perspective for you, that's a price jump of more than 5,000%. Suddenly, the annual cost of treatment for some patients skyrocketed into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. The backlash was, you can imagine, immediate and absolutely fierce. It came from everywhere: medical groups, patient advocates, and politicians on both sides of the aisle. Now, with that level of public outrage, everyone just assumed his downfall was a done deal. And yeah, he was arrested, and yeah, he was convicted. But the story has a really important twist. And here it is. This is the one fact that gets totally lost in all the headlines. As outrageous and frankly unethical as that Daraprim price hike was, it wasn't illegal. Shkreli actually went to prison for something else entirely. So let's break this down because it's crucial. On one side, you have the public outrage machine, all focused on the price hike, which was seen as deeply unethical, but not, against the law. Then, on the other side, you have the actual criminal charges he faced. They had nothing to do with drug pricing. They were all about what he did back when he was a hedge fund manager. Prosecutors even called it a Ponzi-like scheme. So in simple terms, he was basically robbing Peter to pay Paul. He'd lost his investors' money in his hedge funds, and instead of admitting it, he just lied about it. Then, to cover his tracks, he took money and stock from his next company, a biotech firm called Retrofin, and used it to pay back those original angry investors. That's the fraud that actually sent him to prison. And for those crimes, he was ultimately sentenced to 7 years in federal prison. He ended up getting released a bit early in May of 2022, but believe me, his legal troubles were far from over. Because you see, while the criminal case wasn't about the drug prices, a massive civil case was. And this is where the whole Daraprim price hike finally had its day in court. The Federal Trade Commission, the FTC, and a group of 7 states all teamed up and sued Shkreli. They argued that he didn't just raise the price. He created this whole elaborate anti-competitive scheme specifically to block any generic competitors from ever entering the market. He was trying to preserve his monopoly. In the court, the court did not mince words. The judge's ruling described his actions in the harshest possible terms, even calling the whole scheme dangerous. This wasn't just about making a profit anymore. This was about actively preventing competition for a life-saving medication. So the consequences were huge. The court hit him with 2 massive penalties. First, he was ordered to pay back over $64 million in illegal profits. And second, he was banned from the entire pharmaceutical industry for life.
But just when you think the story can't get any weirder, the Martin Shkreli saga has one more bizarre, almost unbelievable chapter. And it involves a priceless piece of art from one of the most legendary hip-hop groups of all time. Okay, you have to follow this timeline because it is just wild. In 2015, Shkreli buys the one and only copy of a secret Wu-Tang Clan album for $2 million. Then, in 2018, the federal government seizes it from him to help pay off his debts. Fast forward to 2021, the government sells it to a crypto collective for almost $5 million. And now they're suing Shkreli, claiming that even after all that, he secretly copied the album and is streaming it for his followers online. The drama just never stops. So that's where the Martin Shkreli story stands today. He's out of prison, but he's been kicked out of the industry he completely dominated. He's fighting a legal battle over a priceless album that he doesn't even own anymore. His entire saga is this tangled mess of high finance, questionable ethics, and the law. And really, the only question left is, what on earth could possibly come next?